In today's world, we're bombarded with images of love. It's everywhere. And the universal symbol for love has always been none other than the heart. But what if I told you there was a time when what humans revered wasn't the heart, but an organ once believed by ancient Babylonians to be the seat of life and the soul of the body? My name's Afiq, and together on the Vital Sign podcast, we tackle some of life's most overlooked bodily mysteries. And today, we're not talking about the heart. We're talking about how vital our liver is to life, an organ once so revered for symbolizing courage, endurance, perseverance, and desire that the saying, "You are my liver," once outshone "I love you." And helping me uncover the liver and all its intricacies today is none other than Dr. Loong, who specializes in, and I'm going to get this right the first time, gastroenterology. I did it without looking at the screen.
Thank you, Afiq. Hello.
No problem. How are you today, doctor?
I'm good. Thank you for inviting me to join you in this podcast.
No problem.
Yeah, it's very funny, right? Most of the time when we talk about love and all those, it's always the heart.
Yeah.
But somehow, especially in Malaysia, somehow liver is getting more and more important.
Okay.
You know? So in Malay, it's like suka hati, jatuh hati,
Betul.
iri
Betul.
hati. So everything, in fact, some patients will think that it's actually the heart they are talking about.
Yeah.
But when they come and see me, I have to explain to them it's not the heart, it's the liver.
I think it also doesn't roll off the tongue very well. Like when someone has a heartache, but when someone has a liver ache, it sounds a bit more serious.
Maybe Malaysia put liver higher.
Maybe.
That makes me, as a doctor, as a gastroenterologist, the doctor who take care of the digestive system and the liver, to be a bit more atas lah, compared to my cardiology colleague, the doctor in charge of the heart.
Okay, so that's interesting. For one, I never knew that the liver falls under the umbrella of gastro.
Yes. That's why I chose gastroenterology to take care of the longest organ, which is the digestive tract, and also the liver and all those things that is attached to the digestive tract, like the pancreas, the gallbladder.
Cool. So I think firstly, I want to thank you for taking the time to be here with us.
You're most welcome.
We really appreciate it. I know you had a busy morning.
It's my pleasure.
We spoke a little bit before the episode started. You said you started your day at 6 a.m. today.
Yeah.
And you had 4 endoscopies.
Yes.
Paint me a picture, right? A really short picture of what that life is like as a doctor, having to wake up at 6 a.m. At this point of the day, do you get tired?
I would say yes, but for the sake of my patient, I don't mind. I'm a little bit different from the other doctors because in gastroenterology, the problem is patient will be fasted to do their endoscopy and all those. So I understand
take your
that
time.
if I'm late, they'll be hungry. Especially for people who have gastric and all those. So I will try to sacrifice my time so that I can get all those things done so that they will be happy.
Perfect.
So if they are happy, I'm happy.
I want to bring the conversation back to the topic of the day. We're talking about fatty liver today, right?
Yes, my favorite topic.
Your favorite topic?
One of my favorite topics.
I'm glad you're here. I guess my first question for you, right, is before we even get into the intricacies of fatty liver or the intricacies of the liver itself, what is fatty liver disease? If you could sum it up really quickly.
Fatty liver basically means too much fat in the liver. Of course, our liver do have some fat. It's supposed to be less than 5% of the liver. But then if there's more than 5%, it's called fatty liver.
I'm in my 30s now. And I have friend groups that are within the same age range. I have friend groups who are older, about 40 plus. It's not unfamiliar to me, but I have heard it come up before. And some of the things that I've heard people say is a silent epidemic. Have you heard of fatty liver disease being called silent epidemic?
Of course. Of course, it's not just fatty liver. A lot of other conditions that do not give symptoms is considered silent epidemic. But fatty liver is getting more and more important because of our diet, our lifestyle. And many people do develop a bit more fat over time, especially as we grow older. And if we eat the same amount of food, just like when we were during our younger days, that accumulation of fat in the liver do pose a lot of problem. Many people feel that fatty liver is just something very common. And because it's so common, they think that it's not important because everybody has it. So what? But now we know that actually fatty liver can cause problems in some patients. That's why it is important for us to identify and re-stratify all these patients and treat those, especially those who requires treatment.
So you mentioned illnesses that don't have symptoms. So medically, it's known as asymptomatic, right?
Yeah.
Asymptomatic means for
No
our
symptoms.
for our viewers, our listeners who don't know what the word means. If you have symptoms and you have symptoms, but asymptomatic means that you are
No
not showing any
symptoms,
symptoms.
correct.
Am I right to assume that because fatty liver disease is most commonly asymptomatic, people tend to overlook it?
Yes, because especially in the initial stage to maybe halfway through the progression of the liver disease, most patients do not have any symptoms.
So
And some may actually deny that they have any issues, although the test shows that they have fatty liver.
So patients don't come in and say, "Doctor, I think I have fatty liver disease." They usually come in with something
Not
else.
really. There are also some patients who are proactive. People do read, people watch podcasts, listen to podcasts, listen to radio. So people actually now is beginning to know more and more about the health. And people are some people are getting more proactive in trying to steer their health into the right direction. And I'm happy for that. But there are also a bunch where they will continue to ignore and continue to deny that they may have certain things, especially if they're asymptomatic. And that's worrying.
As I understand it, there are two types of fatty liver disease, right? The first type is called a non-alcohol associated liver disease, right?
Right.
And then the second type is alcohol associated liver disease.
Correct.
What is the main difference between these two?
Mostly it's about the same. But only thing is in alcoholic liver disease, the cause is due to alcohol. Okay. So if you look at histologically, most of the things are almost the same. Of course, there are some subtle difference, like there may be some biochemical abnormality in some patients, and they may have certain other presentation. But generally, these two conditions is almost the same. In fact, the person who discovered non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, Dr. Ludwig, some years ago, he discovered when he was doing post-mortem on patients who do not drink alcohol, he discovered that some of the patients' liver histologically is similar to those patients who takes alcohol. And therefore, he coined the word non-alcoholic fatty liver disease because this patient actually did not take any significant alcohol at all. And after that, he found more and more patients with this. And then when we start doing studies on all these patients, we realized that it is associated with a bigger syndrome, like metabolic syndrome.
I see. So is there always a cause to liver disease? Or you could lead the perfect life, you exercise, you eat well, can you still get fatty liver disease?
Of course, the answer is yes, but less likely.
Less likely.
Of course, most things will have a cause, but sometimes the cause may be multifactorial. It may not be just one cause. You can have certain condition and you also take some alcohol. It can be because of the environment. It can be because of genetic. So to me is we cannot look at things in a very simplistic way and just say that is the cause. So when I talk to patient, I will try to take a detailed history and also look at all these other risk factor, because only by addressing all these other risk factor, finding the cause, we can actually help the patient to solve their problem.
So we've spoken a little bit about fatty liver disease. But I think to truly grasp what it is and how it impacts our lives, I think we must first understand the organ that it's associated with, which is obviously the liver.
Of course.
Right? In this segment, I want to play a little game. It's a very short game I want to play with you.
I love games.
I love games too. It's called Two Truths and a Lie. Okay. So what's going to happen is I'm going to spit out 3 different statements.
Okay.
You're going to tell me if they're true or if they're false. And these are essentially statements that general assumptions of the general public. Right? So if you're ready, we can start.
Bring it on.
Awesome. Statement number 1 is the liver is the second largest organ in the human body. True or false?
True. The largest is the skin.
Right.
But the liver is the second. So we are not too bad. But if you're talking about the internal organ, actually the liver is the largest internal organ.
Right. So the liver is the largest internal organ. But as a whole, it's the second largest because the skin is the largest organ.
Yes.
Cool. Awesome. Statement number 2 is the liver is an organ that can regenerate.
True. It's interesting. Liver is actually very, very resilient. And in fact, liver cells can regenerate. Therefore, the liver generally, if you take care of it, it will be actually very tough. It's not easy to harm it.
Right.
But unfortunately, if you harm it continuously over a long period of time, of course, then it can be damaged. But generally, liver can regenerate, and that's why it's very tough organ.
Okay. Statement number 3 is, in the last one, the liver only has one essential function, which is to remove waste from the body.
Of course, it's false.
Okay.
For many, I think they think that liver, their job is to detoxify, metabolize things. But actually, the liver, do you think how many functions the liver can serve?
If I have to guess, 10, 20.
I don't think you will never guess this number. It's 500. Imagine 500 functions. The liver can actually do 500 functions.
Even my PC can run 500 functions at one time.
Yes. And they do it all simultaneously, silently,
So
without grumble.
That's something that has always fascinated me about the body.
Yeah, especially the liver, right?
Especially the liver. And like stuff like the brain, but we're talking about the liver today, right? But I just wanted to share how fascinated I am about the human body, because just looking at the body, it looks like a very simple mechanism, right? Your brain moves your arm, moves your legs, but when you study it deeper, like doctors like yourself, and being able to understand that like the liver itself has 500 different functions, and those 500 functions are essential to life.
Yes. Can you imagine this little triangular piece of meat can actually do so much? And like I said, it doesn't make much noise and complain. Even when there's some problem with it, it's still suffering in silence. That's the problem. It's a bit different from the brain. For instance, you have a brain problem, a stroke. You'll be paralyzed. You get very severe headache. Heart problem. You get heart attack. You'll be breathless. But liver, when they have some damage over a long period, it still remains silent. That's why many patients with liver disease suffer in silence. They're asymptomatic until the very end.
Right?
Yeah.
They don't even know it.
Yes. That's very pitiful.
Can you find out from a full medical checkup?
Yes, of course. That's why sometimes we just have to be proactive.
Yeah. We spoke a little bit about what fatty liver disease is. And then we also spoke about the differences between non-alcohol associated liver disease and alcohol associated liver disease. What I want to ask you next is, we understand that fatty liver can be asymptomatic. People may not feel anything and they don't know that they have it. And the risk for that is it may be left untreated.
Correct.
What can it lead to should fatty liver disease be left untreated?
Okay, fatty liver disease, like I said, basically there is excessive accumulation of fat in the liver.
Yeah.
So as it progresses, there will be more and more fat. Unfortunately, this extra fat will then sometimes in some patients, not all, I must say, cause inflammation. Inflammation in the liver can cause damage. And this damage will then kill the liver cells bit by bit every day. So sometimes I'll tell people, can you imagine if you have inflammation, few of your cells die off every day. But when this occurs over 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, one day you will have very few healthy liver cells left. And that is when you develop fibrosis and cirrhosis. Although liver cells can regenerate, but once you have all this scarring and all those, basically it will distort the whole architecture of the liver. So although you may have some cells growing, but because the whole architecture is distorted, so the function of the liver will not be the same. And sometimes you may actually lose some of the functions. Like I said, the liver has 500 functions. And if you start losing all this function one by one, you will have problems. And eventually, some of the patients will develop liver cancer. And
So
that's the
another
worst.
risk.
Yeah. So liver failure, liver cancer, that is the end stage. And that's sad. When patient comes to me at the end, when they have liver cancer or end stage liver failure.
And speaking of stages, what I also understand based on the research that we've done is that the liver deteriorates in stages, or specifically in 4 stages. Stage 1 being healthy liver, stage 2 being fatty liver, Stage 3 being liver fibrosis, which you've mentioned already. And then the fourth one that you've also already mentioned is cirrhosis.
Yep. But before, in the middle, there's hepatitis.
Hepatitis,
So
okay.
in fatty liver, it's called steatohepatitis. That means
Steatohepatitis.
hepatitis due to too much fat.
Okay. At any point, is this disease reversible?
Actually, at the initial stage, it is reversible, especially in the fatty liver stage. Sometimes we reverse it. Sometimes, in fact, if we can just stop the progression, it's not so bad because the patient is anyway healthy and asymptomatic. And if we can keep the patient that way, it's not too bad. But it comes with a price. The price is you have to live healthily and sacrifice some of the nice things that you are supposed to eat and eat healthily.
Right. Balanced diet lah.
Balanced, healthy diet.
Yeah. And I feel like those are things that you hear a lot growing up, right? Like
Right.
keep a balanced diet, exercise all the time. And we've done this podcast for a while now, right? And we've talked about different sort of illnesses and medical conditions. And something that has always stayed consistent is that particular piece of advice. It spans across all different medical conditions that the thing that you must do is, of course, keep a balanced diet, exercise, be active.
Yeah. When we talk about lifestyle diseases, that is the main thing. And sometimes for some people, they will say, oh, easier said than done.
Yeah.
But actually, we just require some discipline.
Yeah.
And to me, is being moderate at things. We don't have to like cut off everything. Whatever that's healthy, you eat more. Whatever that's not healthy, you just take less.
Yeah.
It's not to say you cannot take it all together.
Yeah.
But you must understand your body. When your body has certain issues, then you have to maybe readjust your diet and your lifestyle.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to end up with liver cancer or liver cirrhosis.
Yeah.
Or anything bad.
Hey, before we go to the next segment, right, I wanted to share with you something that I saw on social media the other day. And I think it's very important for our listeners and our viewers to know this as well. First of all, it's not factual. It's not medical related. It's more psychological and more emotional.
Wow.
And it's got to do with like keeping ourselves healthy, you know? But it goes like this. The thing that I saw on social media goes like this. People are quick to say that we'll do anything for our loved ones. We'll die for our loved ones. You know? We'll jump in front of a bullet for our loved ones. But the real question is, would you go to the gym for your loved ones? Would you eat healthy for your loved ones? These are things that are inherently more difficult than thinking that you're going to die for your family. You know, that sacrifice versus the sacrifice of not doing the things you enjoy for the betterment of your life and the betterment of the people that you provide is a far more important thing to think about. What do you think of that?
I totally agree that we sometimes need to make some adjustment for our loved ones, for ourselves.
Yeah.
Remember, our loved one includes our organ.
Correct.
Correct. We have to look at things in a very optimistic way. For instance, sometimes I tell patients you cannot eat this and that. But there are still thousands of other things that you can eat.
Yeah.
Why want to, dwell on these few things that you can't eat?
That you can't eat.
But you have another thousands of other things that you can eat. So what's the problem?
Yeah.
And then you can still eat your nasi lemak once in a blue moon.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit more about the factors causing fatty liver disease. Sorry, my bad. Fatty liver disease seems pretty common based on what we've spoken about.
It is.
Right? What are some of the things that causes it? You've mentioned a few, and this is, I think, a time where we can go deeper into it, right? First one off the top of my head that I can think about is, of course, obesity and diabetes. How do these two things cause fatty liver disease? Obesity, I think going back to your point of excessive fat in the liver, right? But diabetes, how specifically does diabetes relate to fatty liver disease?
We believe one of the most common cause of fatty liver disease, of course that's not the only one, is insulin resistance.
Okay.
When we put on weight, we will develop insulin resistance. And insulin resistance is the cause of most diabetic patients. So they develop diabetes because insulin resistant, type 2 diabetes. And when you have type 2 diabetes, what happens is you have a lot of insulin, but insulin doesn't work very well. So in this condition, there will be a lot of free fatty acid in the bloodstream. And this free fatty acid, where does it go? To the store. Where is the store? The liver. Liver is the store. So when you have a lot of junk you put into the store and keep on putting into the store, what will happen to the store? You'll be in a mess, and it will not be able to function as a store at the end.
We can't walk in and...
Correct. So all this free fatty acid will go into the liver, and when you have insulin resistance, you will also have problem burning the fatty acid, and you also sometimes cause the liver itself to produce even more free fatty acid. And all these things causes accumulation of fat in the liver. So over the years, this accumulation eventually will cause problem, especially for some that maybe we believe in this second hit theory. Some patients, they have accumulation of fat, and later on, maybe due to certain things, there may be another trigger that cause inflammation in the liver. And that inflammation will cause gradual cell death in the liver and eventually will cause liver scarring and fibrosis. So other things apart from insulin problem or obesity will be sometimes infection, medication, and all this can also cause fatty liver.
As in the wrong medication or too much of
a certain
of
medication can cause fatty liver disease, like some heart medicine and all those. Yes, they do and steroids, and we use steroids for patients with autoimmune diseases, asthma, so or sometimes even cancer. All this can cause fatty liver.
And are these risks that managed and navigated by healthcare professionals, I'm assuming, as those, like if I have a heart disease, right, and I'm prescribed a certain medication that might carry a risk for fatty liver disease, this is something that is managed and navigated by the healthcare professional, I'm assuming.
That's why when we talk to patient, we have to look at patient in a holistic way and looking at also medication. Okay. But sometimes when you have heart disease, probably you also have fatty liver disease because they come together. Fatty liver disease usually occurs in patients with this thing called metabolic syndrome, who has patients with insulin resistance. They usually come with high cholesterol, diabetes, hypertension, low HDL, obesity. And because of all these other factors, which are actually cardiovascular risk factor, it will lead to increased risk of heart disease, stroke, and many other things, cardiovascular diseases. In fact, some people believe that if you have all this cardiovascular disease plus fatty liver versus another same person with all this risk factor without fatty liver, people with fatty liver has more chance of developing heart attack and stroke and all those.
I see. Okay. And excessive alcohol consumption is also another factor that causes fatty liver.
Because alcohol, they need to be detoxified in the liver. But most of the time, like I said, the liver can do its job. But if you overdo it, overload it, the problem is if the alcohol is not detoxified fast enough, in between, there is this toxins called aldehyde. All these aldehyde are poisonous to the liver cells. And if it's not detoxified fast enough because you are drinking too much alcohol, it will damage the liver. So we must not over consume alcohol. That's why alcohol overconsumption is bad for the liver.
And I'm sure there are many more factors, but the last one that I want to touch on is viral hepatitis B and C. How does this affect cause fatty liver disease?
Some of these viruses, especially hepatitis C, is shown to also contribute to fatty liver disease development. But the thing is, if you have fatty liver disease and you have viral hepatitis, it's worse. That means you have two things attacking the liver, and we have to address both together.
Okay. So based on these risk factors, right, are Malaysians more likely to develop fatty liver disease? Are these common things that happen in the country?
It is very, very common, Afiq. I'm sure if you look at the statistic.
Yeah, I'm about to read the statistics for you right now.
Yes, the statistic is
it's
very
scary.
It's Why don't you share? Let's go through the statistic.
I'd be happy to, yeah. So I'll read out some of the statistics, right? Since 1 in 2 Malaysians are overweight or obese, according to the National Health and Morbidity Survey in Malaysia 2023, that same survey also says 8.5 million adults in Malaysia have metabolic syndrome, which is something that you brought up earlier as well, which is insulin related.
There you see, 1 in 2 Malaysian
are overweight or obese.
Overweight. That's very scary, right?
Yeah,
And,
it is very scary.
and Malaysian, if you look at Southeast Asia country,
Yeah.
if you compare us to Singaporean, Thai,
Yeah.
Indonesian, we are the biggest.
Yeah.
We are the biggest gainer.
Yeah. I mean, I'm one of the two.
We need to change.
Yeah, I need to change. But but I must say though, over the past few months, I have lost a little bit of weight. I'm very happy about that.
I'm very happy for you too.
I actually feel health. See, my discipline is bad, right? I don't go to the gym. But recently I've just like I've taken care of what I eat and the time I eat. I had no more late night meals, and just that simple change has made my body feel better.
There you are.
You know,
You
when
don't have to
wake
go
up-
to the gym to exercise. You can exercise anywhere.
Yeah, that's right. You can do it. You do it at home.
Change
take
your
a
mindset.
walk.
Yes,
You
that's
know?
right.
I have a pool at my condo. I can go there, right? Like,
Yes. So anyway, fatty liver disease is very common because obesity is very common. Because if you are fat generally, of course your liver, which is the store, will have more fat.
oh, something I forgot to mention as well as we're talking about this these data sets, right? Malaysia is ranked number 1 in not just adult obesity, but also childhood obesity or obesity in children. Anything
Yeah,
you know further about that?
that's a very scary fact as far as I'm concerned. Like I said, fatty liver will develop over time. And if you are already fat when you're a child, can you imagine the risk of having severe fatty liver disease? Because as we grow older, we will accumulate more fat, most of us.
Yeah, so children have eventually gotten a head start,
For
right?
instance, they're only 10 years old and they are fat and they have fatty liver disease. So they may actually develop liver cirrhosis when they're 30 to 40 next time.
goodness.
So that is very serious. And this is very sad because now there's a change in our lifestyle. Things that children do and all those. They no longer go out to play in the field, the padang.
They watch iPad now.
They iPad, they play games, they watch TV.
Yeah.
So that is a very scary thing. So I would like to highlight to all the parents out there, you have to do something about that and make sure they go out and start exercising and all those, or else the children will end up to have fatty liver disease and liver cirrhosis when they are 40 years of age.
Yeah, that's scary.
Yeah.
That's scary because I'm a father of 3.
Oh, okay. You
I
don't
just-
look like one.
I don't look like one. Thank you very much. Yeah, I have. My wife just gave birth to 2 twins, and I have a 3-year-old.
Wow.
My 3-year-old loves to go to like ball pits and likes to go to the park. So we just make sure that she goes there. She gets like time. She loves the iPad, right? She loves sitting on the bed watching iPad. But yeah, I agree. It's also important to have that balance, right? Sometimes.
Yeah, well done. I think it's the balance.
Yeah.
It's all right to spend time looking at the computer, iPad, or even TV, but do spend some time doing some physical activity.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, shout out to parents, man. If you're going through parenthood, I think this is an important message to consume. Anyways, I think we're at the end of this episode right now.
Really, so fast.
Fast, right? Yeah. But I think one of the important takeaways that I want our viewers to take home after listening to this episode and listening to how you've beautifully described the liver and liver disease is that the liver, as unbeknownst to us as possible, is essential to life. I think we always talk about like the heart, we talk about the kidneys, and the liver doesn't get enough attention. But it is not any less essential.
Well said, Afiq.
Yeah,
Well
and
said.
then we just need to start taking things seriously.
Yes.
Right?
Do give some focus to the liver though.
Yeah, we need to give some focus to the
Yeah.
liver. The liver needs to take some spotlight.
Right.
Yeah. Anyways, thank you so much, Dr. Loong.
You're most welcome.
Again, you this is a time in your day that you didn't have to spend with us, but you chose to, and we appreciate that from the bottom of our hearts.
It's my passion to share all these important messages
Yeah.
to everybody.
Perfect. Just before we end this first episode, is there anything else that you'd like to say about how we can tackle fatty liver disease? Anything that maybe a hint as to what we're going to talk about in the next episode?
Basically, like I said, liver is important. Fatty liver is common. In fact, it's the probably going to be the most common liver disease because hepatitis B, we have treatment. Hepatitis C is curable now. So the next epidemic is going to be fatty liver disease. So please live a healthy life, a balanced diet. And this is all we ask for. And usually with this, most patients can actually be able to have a healthy liver. Like I said, the liver is actually quite resilient. It's just that we are not disciplined. We don't take care of it because the liver stays silent. And when we forget about that loved one, our hati, that is the problem. So just take care of your hati, and if you have any problem, you can see any gastroenterologist like Dr. Sakit Hati, like myself. Sakit Hati can see gastroenterologist.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Dr. Loong. I'll see you again in the next episode.
Great.
There's a reason why the liver is the second largest organ in our bodies. And as I've learned today, the liver takes care of all sorts of important functions that keep us alive. With that said, we should really show it some love to keep it in its optimal state and prevent us from developing things like fatty liver disease or worse, chronic liver disease. Make sure to tune in to the next episode where we'll learn exactly how to stop fatty liver disease in its tracks. We'll be talking about diagnosis, prevention, and 5 treatment steps to keep our lives in top shape. I have been your host, Afiq Kamarudin, and this has been the Vital Sign Podcast. This podcast is a production of Renegade Radio with support from Abbott in Malaysia. It was produced by senior producer Kelvin Tay and producer Regini Ravi. Written by Elisa Pong Lee Ann, and once again, I'm your host, Afiq Kamarudin. Catch you next time on the Vital Sign Podcast.